So I'm going to start this, and you can see that I have taped off my pieces. You don't have to use this same exact size piece of paper. Use one of your tear off 9x12, but make it pretty decent paper because you want to see the results on decent paper. And you don't have to do them 1, 2, 3, 4. You can mix it up. In fact, I want to mix it up so I don't let one bleed into the other while one is wet. So I think I'm going to start with an ink, just because it's fun and I'm drawn to the ink, literally. So I'm just going to start to put some marks down. And these are all pretty intuitive. I mean, if you used photos, my God, it's hard to think in terms of copying something, but just to get this stuff on the paper. Wow. And you don't have to try to stay in between the lines of the tape, because that will truncate the work that you do. So there, that's one. You don't have to make a lot of marks, and just make a few. I think I want to continue with making another one of these. This is just pure India ink. This way you can vary the skies. Why not? And I'm going to let that dry and set up, because I'll be going back into some of my pieces. I'm going to also use some other implements of destruction. Now this is a very nice tool, a stick. Kind of interesting. Funny enough, these little marks that you make, they end up looking somewhat like a landscape. I showed you in one of my earlier videos about how you can take scruffy brushes, every kind of different brush. I'll just get the thing wet at the top. Still using the ink. And I can make marks through it with my fingers. Don't worry, I'm going to come back to some of these. I showed you this brush that has this fine point to it, but the bulbous barrel, I'm going to call it. This is a little bit of sepia ink. Again, I'm playing with the inks. It's kind of weak looking, isn't it? I think I'll put some black in it because it looks so weak. And then there's a fun thing you can do with this brush. That's fun. Okay. Now I'll start playing with the color a little bit. We can put varying horizons on these things. I think I'll make that a little bit. My studio is very dry, so the paints dry up pretty quickly, so I have to use a little more water than I usually do. I think I'm going to put some indigo, which will give it some heft. Just to get a little bit of a sky going. With these little squares, it's pretty easy to let something bleed, so sometimes when you're doing these horizons, it's a little bit better if you leave a space between your first application and then going into the next. I showed you the other day, let's see, where is it? Oh, Lord. Well, I won't show it again to you right now. I was going to show you how the art graph looks, but I'll wait and do that when I can access it better. I'm going to, I've still got a lot of ink on there. Just how that shows up as grass. They're becoming fun for me. If I get quiet all of a sudden, it's because I get so engrossed. I did want to show you something that I had to review for myself with these brushes. When you can tell if you have a good brush or not, you put it in water. In fact, you could be entitled to do this at different stores that you go try brushes. But you put it in water and then you shake it so to see if this wet brush comes to a tip. Can you see that? I don't know. But it's got a nice tip because I wet it and it comes to a tip. Even with your flats, they may splay out a little bit when they're dry, like this is. But when you wet them, you want them to come to a fine, thin, razor sharp edge. So having done that, I'll just show you on one of these little squares what I want to do with that. See, I can come back to this one. So that you can make very thin lines with a flat. You can also make that thin razor sharp edge with these larger wash brushes. I'm just going to flick it over here and you can see that it is a very thin, fine edge. So I'll go into a color this time. And it makes a perfect edge, even with a brush this big on a square that's just a ½ inch larger than what this brush is. So I'm going to leave that for a minute and let it set up, and I can put other colors into it. But this is just a game of, what if? What if I do this? What if I do that? And I'm going to try to do a little more interesting. Now that is interesting, but I want to add something to it. Where's the one? That's too red. So I'm going to go back and put some more green back on top of it. Maybe I'll do some ink. I see I've got a lot of verticals going on here, so let me do something else. It's kind of a little bit of a Zen thing that I want to just sit here and paint, but I'm thinking I need to talk to you guys too, so I'm not doing all that I would if I could. Dropping other colors in now. That's cool. That's just enough for that. And why don't I try this one? Going back to the black ink. There I go again. Verticals. That's okay. We're good. We're good. So why don't I try some deliberately making a high horizon, fields, maybe a little bit of a that could be a field or it could be a river. It doesn't matter. I might do a little bit of a mountain thing here. With horizon. Maybe some It's fun to play with the inks. It doesn't always give you exactly what you think you're going to get, but that's what I'm finding out by doing these. It's not, the paper is not precious. It's just an exercise. And it really does get the juices going. This could be the valley, Skagit Valley. I'm not loving my mountain color, but that's okay. I think I want to mix it up with a little bit of that's fine. When we take the tape off, it gets to be a little more fun. I'm going to use some charcoal on one. Let's see. Why don't I make a high horizon again? And now I'm drawing. I'm not just painting and whisking things around. But I might put just a little bit of an indication of a little barn or something there. And maybe some trees up here. And again, some furrows for and that still gives you the feeling of something that you have seen in your mind or in a place. And it helps me think of things I would do if I were painting a real big painting. Now see, that's very harsh looking to me, so I'm going to just smooth it over with my finger. Make it more interesting. So that's that. What else? I've got an ultra fine. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Oh, Lord. I could just draw, well, I don't know. We're going to try something anyway. And it doesn't all have to be a panoramic thing with fields and stuff. What about, oh, I know. Let's put a little. Let's make that a little more interesting. I don't want to do too much detail, but remember when we were in class, those of you who were with me in class, to remember that thing of happy hour, 5 to 7 shapes. And that can give you pretty much what you need in a composition. You don't have to have a lot more than that. So let's see. And then what I'll do, Again, we don't want too much detail. And here I am fiddling with detail. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to like this one the least because I've put the most in the detail. Okay. So far, this is a good one. Oh, I'll have to do some more. We can put some color into some of these black and whites. That's okay. And let's just make a sky. That's what I'll do. A green sky, a greenish yellowish sky. So I'll end up putting some blue in, and of course it'll get to be and I'll put a little bit of a ground underneath. It's kind of interesting. But now I see it, I think, oh yeah, that's interesting, but it needs to be darker. So I'm going to put some indigo in the sky. Yeah. Moody, rainy sky. That's a little bit too much mood. That's okay. Now I can start to put some color maybe in these. This is quinacridone gold, or quinacridone nickel-azo, as I'm saying. So I'm going to continue with a few more of these. I'll film them as I go, but I don't want to bore you with all my little mark making. So I have kind of finished the painting part that I figured I want to, and I've brought out several different pieces of soft pastel chalk, and I wanted to show you again my pan pastels. It's pretty self-explanatory why they're called pan pastels. It's a very soft pastel, and you can use just a sponge to put things on with, but they also sell these little plastic tools that look like plastic palette knives, and they come with different tips. This is just a little sponge tip, and I'm going to just use this one today. And then go into these and see where I can kind of amp up something. And my danger here is to go overboard. Some of these I already really like just the way they are, but I can feel that I'm going to go in there and mess it up. But oh well, this is just a practice piece. So my thing was to try to simplify but create the illusion of several different landscape possibilities. I'm kind of loving this one I did with a stencil, so I might leave that alone for now. But let's see what else I can go into. I think I'll just kind of start with something that I see is easy. I'm going to just go in with this. It amps up the watercolor a little bit with this pastel because it is so soft and velvety. I think I need to lighten that again, actually. So that's gold. I don't want gold. That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, I'll do more of that somewhere else. Okay, so just get a little bit in here. I like that. You can wipe this off. I think I want to put the green back in, and I love the colors it turned out on top of this black with the green, and I put some quin gold, but I'm trying here to just lighten it a little bit with the pastel. Not too much, because I like what the black did, but there's that. Okay, that's fine. And see what I can do with that one. That one might need something else. Well, let's try this again. That's probably overkill. It is overkill. Oh well, that's a sacrificial one. I'm going to use my little stick here of some lavender or purple and see if I can fix this mountain, because I remember I wasn't happy with this. That's cool. That's very cool. Happy with that. And let's see what else I could do. I'm going to give this a little bit, this one, a little bit of drama. Yeah, that did that. And then some of these black and white ones, maybe if I oomph them with a little bit of white, give them some sparkle. Cool, like that. This poor little guy, he's going to be an unfavorite. So let's, if I think that's an unfavorite, what can I do to really just play with it? First of all, I might give it a better sky than what it's got. That's cool. Why don't I do that somewhere else? See what happens over this blue. Okay. And let's see. This one needs a little bit of a different sky, I think. Now I like that better. This one is still bugging me. What to do, what to do. And that's the fun of it. You can do just anything you want to do. I think I'm going to go play with this purple a little bit somewhere. Don't know how, don't know why. But I'll do it. I'll just go ahead and put it in here and see what happens. Not much. But it does give some drama back into it. I don't have to use every color, but I'm just having fun with it. And I think that my head says stop and don't overdo it, and my heart says go play some more, but I don't know. I think this one needs some white. You can see I've done all these verticals, and I like verticals. I mean, considering that these are squares, compositionally, I like the way the verticals work with each other. This is the one that I screwed up, so I'm going to screw it up some more probably. No, that helped it a little bit. That could have been a nice picture. You know, I liked what the green did, so I'm going to go back in here and give this guy a little bit. This started out as a charcoal, remember? So it might mess up as I apply this. It's not doing anything drastic. But that's enough. I want to play some more, but I'm going to stop. And I'll tell you why, because I want to take the tape off and show you really what ends up being kind of a little mini thumbnail thing of possibilities here. So I've got my dirty hands. I'm going to take the tape off. How did I put this on? Maybe I better take the horizontals off first. And the paper could tear, so I don't want to screw it up too much. This is 1/2-inch tape. And I showed you on an earlier video that you could use 8-inch, but my arthritic hands just can't deal with that. So this 1/2-inch does what I want it to do. I could have been very artsy and not had all of these lines, but I did score off my lines with pencil. It's kind of like the Great Reveal, isn't it? And they're all these sweet little singular landscape suggestions. And because I did so many verticals, you can see that my head is more with the trees. This past summer, and all during the fall with the good weather, I did a lot of hiking. Went up to Mount Baker and did some hiking up there. Always around town. I've gone on all of the Anacortes City forest lands, all around the water. I did a lot of kayaking. And so the trees are just kind of in my my brain. So enough of that. But they are in my brain, and I do like painting trees, and even my abstracts, I intuitively put a reference to trees in. But your thing may be water, or it may be stones, or rocks, or whatever. But this is it. Now, let's see. Oh. So I have got my little croppers, and it's surprising how much you can see in these little vignettes. I like this one. I like this one. That's a pretty sweet one. All trees so far, right? And this one kind of appeals to me. This could be like cattails. That's kind of cool. And here's my little black and white charcoal. That's not bad. And this one, remember, I was agonizing over this being too much detail. Yeah, it probably has too much detail for this exercise, but it's not a bad little composition. So I really encourage you to do these and find a couple that you really like, and then start to think about how you would develop these into larger paintings. My next step with doing these before was making 2 or 3 of them, my favorites, onto 6x6 pieces of paper. That's very cute too. Okay, this is it for now. I know it's a long video, but a lot to cover. See you next week.